Hare. Vande Savakam Tatpashkacham Statak Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Samjakam Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaudadai Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamodurao Yadadvaitam Brahmopanishadi Tadapya Satanuba Yat Mantarayami Purushaiti Shosham Shabibavaha Shadaishvaryar Punoya Ibha Bhagavan Saswayamayam Na Chaitanya Krishna Jagati Paratatvam Paramiha Anarpita Charim Chirat Karana Yavatirna Kalau Samarpayitum Nato Jvararasam Sabakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita Sadarya Kandare Spiritu Vasachinandana. We having a technical glitch? Hard putting up the slides. We're all on our own. Here we go. Anarpita charim shirat karanavaya kirtina kalau samarpayitumunato jvararasam sapakti shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita Sadarya Kandare Spirituva Sachinandanaha Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Hladini Shaktirasmat Ekat Manavapi Puvipura Deha Bhedham Gato Tau Chaitanyakyam Prakatamaduna Tadvayam Chaikyamaptam Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Sarupam Shri Radhaya Pranayamahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Swajo Yena Bhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamaniyaha Saukyam Chasyad Anubhavita Kidrisham Veti Lobat Tad Bhavadya Samajani Sachi Garbha Sindho Harindu Sankarshana Karanato Ashai Payobdishai cha payobdishai Sheshascha yasyam shakalasa nitya Nandakya Rama sharanam mamastu Mayatiti vyapi vaikunta loke Purnaishvareshi Tarudumadye Rupam yasyodpati sankarshanakyam Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Maya Bharta Janda Sankarshayanga Shete Shakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yes Aikam Shashi Pumanadi Devas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Maya Bharta Janda Sangashrayanga Shete Shakshat Karanam Bodhi Madhye Yasyaikam Shashi Pumanadi Devas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Yasyam Shamsha Shila Garbhoda Shayi Yannabhyabjam Loka Sangatanalam Loka Shrashtu Sutikadama Datus Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Yasyam Sham Sham Sha Paratma Kilanam Poshta Vishnur Bhati Dugdabdi Shayi Shoni Bharta Yat Kala Sopyanantas Tam Shri Nityananda Ramam Prapadye Mahavishnu Jagat Karta Maya yasrajat yada tasyavataramevayam advaita charyam ishvara. My advaitam harina dvaitad bhakta bhakti shamshanad bhaktavataram isham tam advaita charyam ashraye. Pancha tattvatmakam krishnam bhaktarupa sarupakam bhaktavataram bhaktakyam namami bhakta shaktikam. Jayatam suratau pangor mama manda matergati matsarva swapadam bojao radha madana mohanao divya vrindaranya kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratna Gana Sinhasanastau Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Devao Preshtalibi Sevyamanao Smarami Sriman Rasarasaram Vivam Shivata Tatastita Harshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda He Teen Thakur Gaudiake Karyachena Atmasad He Tinera Charan Vondon Tine Morna. We need 2 more verses. Remember? Somebody can add them on. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Next 2 verses. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantera Aramve Kare Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavanti Nera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera smarane hoy vigna vinashana anayase hoy nija vanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare One more time, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare And now we have some time to share some realizations. One thing is, it's important every day to recite the Shastra. It's one of the austerities of speech. And when you get used to chanting the Sanskrit or Bengali verses that come from the revealed scripture, then they become part of your mind and your feeling in life, and they direct you. They're actually deeply, they're like positive samskars that overwrite all the other kinds of psychological nonsense that causes disturbance. So it's important to recite Shastra. Okay, share some realizations, if you would, about how you're living on this earth and practicing Krishna consciousness, doing whatever else you have to do, and what kinds of ways are you realizing your purpose in life or Krishna consciousness. Yes, Shastra Sarprada, one who distributes the essence of the Shastra.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yesterday during class, Guru Maharaj, you were talking about Tapan Mishra, TM, too many books. And when you were elaborating upon that, I was remembering a big thought process that I was having on Friday. I was thinking about the verse Siddhanta Baliya Chitte Nakara Alas, that, and then the verse after that, I don't know the Bengali about that, and Prabhupada was talking about how if one wants to really become attached to Mahaprabhu, one should have proper knowledge of who Krishna is, supported by the works of the previous acharyas. And I was thinking about the purpose of the previous acharyas writing everything that they did. And there's a lot of hard philosophy work that has been done, like the Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami. But it's ultimately to get to a point, and how the way Madhavananda Prabhu puts it, of Siddhanta and understanding Tattva being like the base of a cake and the icing being rasa. And how if you don't use Siddhanta as some sort of a platform to be able to freely have fun and become attached to Krishna, so that you don't have philosophical doubts along the way, ultimately just having gyan by itself won't do anything for anyone. Because I was thinking again about Anyabhilashita Shunyam and how jnana and karma are needed, but to help like push up bhakti, but they should never overtake bhakti. And the moment they overtake bhakti, it's no longer the right thing. And it just hit me like a train, because I was realizing that sometimes it's so easy to get into there's like an intellectual thrill of like, wow, like the way this acharya proved that was so cool. But if I'm not using that for the purpose for which the acharya intended it, I'm not doing any service to the acharya. And how there's actually a story of Sri Harisuri. He's a commentator on the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. And upon hearing his commentary on the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, one of the Shankaracharyas, one of the heads of the Mayavad Mats, he said that he's willing to give up his study of Vedanta so he could just hear of Krishna this way. And I was thinking, a Mayavadi giving up the study of Vedanta is like a lion saying he's going to become a vegetarian or something. It's like, oh my God, that's such an effect that the devotees' words have on people, that they're willing to be able to use Shastra in the right way. And how there's actually a verse in Padyavali in which I think Madhava Saraswati, he's making fun of the Mimamsakas, saying that they know so much Shastra, but they don't relish any of the rasa that comes with the Shastra, that they're like little like ladles that distribute nectar, but they never taste the nectar themselves. And I was thinking, what a sad situation to be in, because it's right there, but they're not able to taste it. So it was a big aha moment for me, in saying that like I don't want to end up this way. So I should apply the knowledge, any knowledge that has been given to me, in the right way.
Haribo. There's another verse in which that Prabhupada uses and comments on that, in which he emphasizes supporting our practice of bhakti with Shastra, and it's in the first canto, second chapter. Does anybody know what it is? I know what it is, and it's in my mind right now. So if you can do a Vulcan mind meld, you'll know what it is. Tachchadadhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashantyatmani chatmanam bhakta shruta grihitaya. That verse specifically talks about how bhakti is supported by Shruti, and Prabhupada talks about how one must read the books of the Goswamis in order to understand the Siddhanta and what our ultimate goal is. So it's vitally important. And what you said about the mood of it is very important too. Prabhupada emphasized in writing and studying everything we should do for self-purification. And when we're doing it in the right mood, right attitude, then it's natural that Krishna will be more pleased by our endeavors. Thank you. A couple more realizations? Yes, Balaram. If anybody's on Zoom, I don't know if they are at this point, but if they are, you could turn it on. No? Okay.
I had a question almost. Today in lecture, you were talking about how the goal of our devotional process is to surrender unto Krishna, and how that's like what we want. We want to surrender to Krishna, or rather, it's all like. But it also says that we should start with surrender, and from surrender, we're able to continue with our devotional service. We're able to find our purpose in our life. I feel like in my life, I have this faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the only purpose in our life is actually to serve Him. But I feel like I'm not there at surrender, and I'm not sure if that's like a mentality thing, whether I should, I'll eventually come to a point of surrender, or if that's something that has to happen with me, or is there like a process by which I can understand that I must surrender, or that I have or that I should surrender to the Lord right now, or something like that.
The process comes by the mercy of the material nature. And in fact, I just read that in the second canto, first verse of the second chapter of the second canto, in which Prabhupada talks about how the material nature is very merciful in helping us to realize the importance of surrender. Of course, we know that she rides on a tigress and she holds the trident and is poking Adhyatmakadi Bhotikanadi Daivik. But there are ways in which the material world can mercifully bring us to this conclusion that I should surrender to Krishna. However, as far as the process goes, yes, as described in what's called the process of Sharanagati, or literally it means the path of taking shelter of Krishna. There are 6 parts, as you well know. And it's good to review them because it's very practical. First thing is you should give up things that are not favorable for your devotional service. You should take up things, not in this order, you should take up things that are favorable, give up things that are unfavorable. Then you should also cultivate the awareness that Krishna is your maintainer and protector. Practice humility, and then ultimately see how your very self belongs to Krishna. These are the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, and you can begin incrementally with accepting those things that are favorable. And Prabhupada used to give the example of pouring milk into a glass of ink. If you have a glass full of ink and you keep pouring milk and don't stop, then eventually all the ink will go out and it'll only be milk. In a similar way, when we accept things that are favorable for devotional service, then it's a natural way other things get pushed out of our lives. Just like when we started doing what we called kids kirtan, and then, we used to do a few shlokas and it became a few more, and then pretty soon, like in all the programs, we keep adding this and that, and then eventually we get a taste for doing more, and then our preoccupation becomes hearing and chanting, doing devotional service and so forth. It becomes all-consuming, accepting things favorable. So that's the path of surrender. It's very practical. When we say surrender, sometimes we have the image of the high-speed chase. Those are popular in America. Even if the president is giving us State of the Union address, if there's a high-speed chase somewhere in Los Angeles down the 405 freeway, they'll cut away, practically, and watch everybody chasing him. Helicopters, 20 police cars. They put down nails to pop the tire. The guy keeps going. There's sparks coming out, then fire. Going for hours. His mom's watching on TV. They can see him from the news camera from the helicopter. He goes down some road onto a cul-de-sac, comes to the end, gets out, tries to cross a fence, rips his pants off. Dogs are chasing him down the lane. He finally comes to a wall, and there's 500 policemen behind him, and then he falls down flat on the ground, puts his hands out to surrender. But that's not our kind of surrender. We want to do preemptively and accept things favorable and just eschew those things that are not favorable, to winnow them out of our lives and the other aspects of Sharanagati as we go through and just filter out the things that don't help us. Hare Krishna. A couple more realizations. Anyone want to share? It's a tight-knit community. We can share stuff. We're not afraid. Right? Kuyamakyati prachiti. Anyone else? How you're processing? You're living out life on planet Earth. You're here in Kali Yuga, right after Lord Chaitanya left a couple minutes ago. Practicing Krishna consciousness. What are you seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling? Yeah? No? Tejas.
Hare Krishna. So, recently I've been reading the Prema Pradipa by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And so, especially at the beginning, there's there's these two people who come from Calcutta to speak with, I'm forgetting the name. Was it Yogi Babaji? Or I'm forgetting. Anyway, so and so basically they start talking about Brahmoism, which was especially I guess in the 1800s and 1900s in India, there was this mini renaissance that was sort of going on, where I guess which was spurred by the independence movement, where people just started looking at the Vedas and all of the Upanishads, etc. And they started talking about they started coming up with new ideas, and basically this was one of the new ideas. And what's kind of struck me was that in every single era, in Mahaprabhu's time, there was the spread of Mayavad. In Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, there was this Brahmoism. And in every single era, there's always something or the other that comes up, and some sort of new philosophy that takes place. And our acharyas they're always ready to fight against it. And this nature of always trying to prove that we shouldn't deviate from what is actually written in the scriptures and what is the actual reality. And that mentality was it really struck me that even though at the end of the book it becomes very rustic, but still at the same time there's this notion that we need to establish what is actually the truth. And that sort of really struck me when I was reading.
That's a really nice point. And it's something similar that Krishna brings up to Uddhava in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he mentions that the message of the parampara has to be constantly renewed. It's the nature of the world for it to get diminished by the influence of the three modes of material nature. And all kinds of weird philosophies get manifest. Actually, people do it. They screw different meanings out of it for different motives under the modes of nature. So it's the lifeline to all human society in the world, the parampara, that's bringing through the message that it's available in its pure form. That's what's most important. How was the picnic today? What was fun about it? I mean, what did you like about it? What was the experience? Yes. Prashadam. It was good? Nice.
It was good to have an ISV picnic after so long, because the last time we had, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Was that right? That long ago?
Yeah, it was before pandemic. So
yeah, because the pandemic, and then before that, was it that long ago? 1919? Oh, I mean, sorry. 2019 we had it. 2019. So yeah, a few years ago. It's true. Anybody else? Yes.
Could I share a general realization?
Yes, please.
My semester just finished last week, and when I was coming back, after I finished grading my last assignment, and I was driving in Atlanta, and I saw the trees and the lighting and the colors and the timing was exactly the same as when I first arrived in Atlanta 8 months ago. And it was just so weird, just knowing that 8 months have just passed, just like that. And it just felt like yesterday because I saw the exact same road. The trees looked exactly the same. The traffic was the same. The speed was the same. Everything was just the same, but it was 8 months later. And it was just so disorienting almost to just like realize that, wow, it's been 8 months. And I felt like even though a lot of things happened in school, a lot of things were achieved, it didn't feel like I did anything because at the same time my sadhana also decreased with school coming in. So it just felt almost like I lost eight months of my life. Whereas previously, like I've always kind of been like growing in my own personal opinion. Like I've always been doing something extra every year, whether like it just happens or I tried or something. But this year, for like the first time, it just felt like maybe I've gone down maybe a little bit because like even though I had all these different kinds of milestones that I reached, I wasn't able to grow in other areas. And I felt like at the end of it, those felt more important because they felt like they were about me and about like the person that I am rather than my life. And it just felt really weird almost just feeling that in the moment. It was just, and that, I think that's like a major like turning point in my life, just experiencing that kind of situation. And I'm grateful that it happened. And now I think I have a stronger sense of purpose of like what I should be focusing on, my priorities. And I really like that. I wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing that. And Radhakripa Prabhu's next. There's a way in which as we go through life, different eras, it's important to keep readjusting back to our priorities because by small degrees, we can move this way and that. Even as you know, when we're trying to balance, we're really kind of rocking back and forth, trying to come to the center. And getting through a lifetime is like a long flight. You have to keep pulling back to where the line is that's taking you to the place you want to go. Nice realization. Thank you for sharing. Radhakripa Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I think picnic today was fun. I was remembering when I was young, so when we get a chance to even watch the elders playing the game, they let us actually come close to where they're playing because we are small. We feel like empowered, See, they let us come very close to us. But somehow when we were playing volleyball today, I saw when, Vrinda, Monisha, and then Gita Priya, they were part of our team. I think that interaction make me feel like, I thought, we should do this more often because it was fun, playing and of course being a part of the team and, kind of helping each other and, enjoying each moment. But in that interaction, I felt like there is also a different bonding because otherwise, majority of the time, discussions may be more focused on philosophy or, the bhakti, but, a little fun outside, and especially where, in the teenager age, they feel, they can interact with those who are, more older to them in a very, frank and open manner. Such bonding was very powerful, I felt today. So because I was correlating with my experience, I felt like, they probably might be feeling the same thing. Because I saw when they joined, then, Sudeep Prabhu's daughter also said, can I also join? I said, come on in, She didn't even touch the ball. She just was, just there itself. But that feeling which she had, I think it was just she's feeling inclusive as part of the, the picnic. So I just thought to share that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates took time for recreation. They would have water fights. Sometimes Advaitacharya would swear at Lord Nityananda because Lord Nityananda was very powerful at splashing water. Advaitacharya, and he had this rasa going on where they kind of criticize each other. But the point was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had fun. He'd take his devotees out, and Prabhupada did that sometimes. He'd take the devotees to go all take bath, and when the devotees were playing, he was very happy to see them. He wasn't happy when we tried to play in Radhakund, though. Told us never go back there. But in any case, it is important for a community to get out and about and do different things, because you're right about, it's just one context. And then when we go into different contexts, especially if you go into nature, have just time to talk and move around, and then we bond even more in different ways. And it's important because the community is our base. It's our grounding factor so that we can make advancement in devotional service. Oh, good. We got a few more going on here. Okay, so let's go. 1, 2, 3. We get a trade in.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Because Prabhu was just talking about Sudhi Prabhu, I just wanted to mention that several of us know that Sudhi Prabhu cleans the bathrooms every Sunday. The other day I saw Siddhi outside and I was just thinking, oh, she's just waiting for me. And she said, no, Mataji, you can go use the restroom. And then after I came back, I saw that she was cleaning that bathroom. And I was just thinking that the parents just have to do. For several years, Prabhu has been doing, and Siddhi was helping her dad. That was really heart-touching. I just wanted to share that.
That is heart-touching. It's amazing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In today's picnic, you were talking, you quoted the verse, Vayur Anilam Amritam, where it says that, let my body be burnt to ashes. And I was just thinking about the concept of death. And yesterday I went to this home program where His Grace Srivas Pandit Prabhu gave a lecture, and he was talking about the story of how the Pandavas, they went on a hunting trip to regain a possession of a Brahmana that a deer stole. So they went to find this deer, and give the Brahmana back his stuff. But they couldn't, the deer was too fast, and they were thirsty and tired. And they were, and so Yudhishthira told the youngest of the Pandavas, Sahadev. I forgot who went first. I think it was Sahadev. So he went to find water, and he found a beautiful pond. And but before he could drink it, there was a voice that said, "If you drink the water, you will die immediately." And he still drank the water because he was thirsty, and then immediately he fell down dead. And then eventually all the Pandavas, all three, Arjuna, Nakula, and Bhima, they went, and they still drank the water despite the warning. And then finally Yudhishthira Maharaj went, and then he was about to drink the water when the same voice again came and said that, you will die if you drink the water. And he saw his brothers dead, and he immediately, went to investigate. And then there was this voice that said, if you drink the water, you will die. But if you answer all these questions, I'll let you drink the water. And then one of the questions was that, what's the most amazing thing that you see in this world? And he was like, I see that people know that death is coming, but they still, they see everybody, dying around them, but they still think that they're not going to die. And I was just thinking about that. And Srivas Pandit Prabhu also gave an example of 3 students who have exams coming. The first student, he's in the school, but he still doesn't study. The second student, he hasn't come to school for 3 days. He's just scared at home, shivering for the exam. And the third student, he's at school and he's studying for the exam. And we all know that the third student is probably going to pass. He has more chance of passing than the first 2 students. And he kept this with the concept of death, how some people, they know that death is coming, but they still don't prepare for it. Some people are really scared of death, but they still don't prepare for it. And there's that one person, or a devotee of Krishna, who prepares for death. And I was just thinking how important it was that in this, being a devotee of Krishna is very rare. So I was just thinking how it's really important that I try and strive to go back to Godhead rather than taking many breaths and, failing. Yeah.
Okay. Monisha for the close.
Hey Krishna, I have two small realizations. The first one is about time and how I heard this phrase the other day from one of my friends who is cutting class because she's a second semester senior, and she said YOLO, which means basically you only live once. And I was thinking about that a lot because time goes by so fast, like Byron was describing. And as I'm growing older, I realize I only have more responsibilities that are getting added to my plate. So I kind of regret that when I was younger, I didn't take the time to read all of the books that now I want to read, but I'm like putting off because there's always something else on my to-do list. And then the second one was about Mother's Day, and I was thinking about my mother and all the mothers here at ISV and Narakla Mataji who care so much for all of us. And it's so special because especially at ISV, I noticed that other mothers treat me as their own like child, and it's something so like beautiful to feel and experience. And I'm grateful to be growing up in a community like that.
Hey, Haribo. That was a good note to close on. Very nicely put and heartwarming to boot. Thank you, everyone, for taking this time today to go out into the park and celebrate that we have a wonderful community. And especially today we had celebration of the mothers in the community, and we chanted and the rain came. Saw how that works. And I think everyone had fun. Yeah. So please keep the transcendental vibration going, and be kind to one another. Try to help everyone you see around you, because we're all we have. The material nature is unpredictable, so don't take anything for granted. I mean, you don't want to be neurotic, but you also just take advantage of the opportunity that we have while we have it, because it's not guaranteed at all. And we have the greatest opportunity of all. Gaur Premanande. Vanchakalpatarusha.